In May 2024, a significant development unfolded in the South Caucasus. Russian peacekeepers concluded their withdrawal from the Khojaly district in Azerbaijan. This departure occurred approximately 18 months ahead of their originally scheduled mandate, which was set to end in late 2025. Nearly 2,000 Russian troops had been stationed in the area, a presence established following the 2020 Nagorno-Karabakh War. The sight of Russian military convoys leaving the region marked a tangible shift in the post-conflict landscape. This early withdrawal was not a unilateral Russian decision, but rather a consequence of Azerbaijan's strengthened position, compelling Moscow to reassess its deployment timeline. The process began on April 16, 2024, and by mid-May, the last contingents had vacated key positions, including the Kudavang Monastery and the Khojali base. The initial deployment of these Russian peacekeepers was a cornerstone of the trilateral agreement signed on November 10, 2020. This agreement, brokered by Russia, brought an end to the intense 44-day war between Azerbaijan and Armenia over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. The contingent consisted of 1,960 soldiers, supported by armored personnel carriers and other military equipment. Their stated mission was to maintain the ceasefire, ensure the security of the lock-in corridor connecting Armenia to Nagorno-Karabakh, and facilitate the safe return of displaced persons. For a period, their presence provided a semblance of stability, though underlying tensions remained palpable throughout their deployment, reflecting the unresolved nature of the core conflict despite the ceasefire agreement. However, the events of September 2023 dramatically altered the context of the peacekeepers' mission. Azerbaijan launched a swift and decisive military operation. Within a matter of hours, it regained full control over the entirety of Nagorno-Karabakh. Critically, the Russian peacekeeping contingent did not intervene to halt Azerbaijan's advance. This lack of Russian action was perceived by many, particularly in Armenia, as a failure to uphold security guarantees. The Azerbaijani military success was rapid, demonstrating its enhanced capabilities and strategic planning, effectively rendering the peacekeepers' original mandate obsolete as the de facto authorities in Stepanakert capitulated very quickly. The immediate aftermath of Azerbaijan's military success was a profound humanitarian crisis. A mass exodus of ethnic Armenians from Nagorno-Karabakh to Armenia ensued, with tens of thousands fearing for their safety under Azerbaijani rule. Armenia itself, facing its own internal political and security challenges, did not militarily intervene to support the Karabakh Armenians. This period underscored a significant shift in regional power dynamics. Russia's perceived inaction and subsequent early withdrawal from Khojaly signaled a notable decline in its direct influence as the primary security arbiter in this specific part of the post-Soviet space, a role it had cultivated for decades. This was the first instance of Russian armed units leaving a post-Soviet state voluntarily and ahead of schedule. The Aliyev government in Azerbaijan skillfully leveraged the shifting geopolitical currents to enhance its regional influence considerably. The war in Ukraine, which preoccupied Russia and led to Western sanctions, created new strategic opportunities for Baku. Azerbaijan adeptly navigated these changes, strengthening its autonomy and recalibrating its relationships with major powers. Moscow, increasingly isolated and seeking alternative trade routes due to Western sanctions, found itself more reliant on corridors passing through Azerbaijan. This dependence subtly shifted the balance of power, giving Baku greater leverage in its dealings with the Kremlin, a dynamic that was unthinkable just a few years prior. This was a clear demonstration of astute diplomatic maneuvering. A key component of Azerbaijan's rising clout has been the deepening of its strategic alliance with Turkey. The 2021 Shusha Declaration solidified this partnership, expanding military cooperation and framing their alliance as a critical deterrent against external interference in the region. This bond, often described as one nation, two states, provided Azerbaijan with robust political and military backing. With Russia's capacity to project power in its near-abroad visibly diminished, the Azerbaijan-Turkey axis gained even more prominence. This alliance has become a defining feature of the new regional security architecture, offering Baku a reliable and powerful partner that shares many of its strategic objectives in the South Caucasus and beyond. Following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, the European Union, with strong support from the United States, initiated high-level direct talks between Baku and Yerevan. This Western-led mediation track gained traction as Russia's role as the primary peace broker appeared to wane. Azerbaijan engaged constructively in these talks, further positioning itself as a pragmatic actor on the international stage. A significant milestone was Armenia's formal recognition of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity in late 2022, a move that fundamentally altered the negotiating landscape. Baku demonstrated an increasing capacity to engage with Russia, Turkey, and Western powers on its own terms, reflecting a newfound confidence in its international standing and diplomatic capabilities. This enhanced autonomy was starkly illustrated by President Aliyev's public rebuke of the Kremlin in late 2023, after a Russian missile mistakenly downed an Azerbaijani civilian aircraft. Such a direct challenge to Moscow would have been highly improbable in previous years. It signaled that Azerbaijan no longer felt the same level of deference or fear towards its northern neighbor. The North-South transport corridor, running from Russia through Azerbaijan and Iran to Persian Gulf ports, became particularly crucial for Moscow, strengthening Baku's hand. This confluence of factors allowed Azerbaijan to chart a more independent foreign policy course, balancing its interests adeptly among competing global and regional powers. Azerbaijan has effectively utilized its energy resources to bolster its economic and strategic position, particularly in relation to Europe. Between 2021 and 2024, the country exported over 44 billion cubic meters of natural gas to the European Union via the Southern Gas Corridor. This corridor, transiting through Georgia and Turkey, has become increasingly important for European energy security, especially as the EU seeks to diversify away from Russian gas supplies. These gas exports generated approximately $12 billion in revenue for Azerbaijan over the four-year period, providing a significant economic boost and solidifying its role as a key energy partner for the continent, giving it considerable diplomatic leverage. Beyond natural gas, Azerbaijan has capitalized on its strategic location to promote itself as a vital transit hub. The Middle Corridor, an alternative east-west trade route connecting Asia to Europe via the Caspian Sea and the Caucasus, has gained prominence. This route is supported by Western efforts to reroute trade flows away from Russia. While cargo volumes along the Middle Corridor have risen, they are still constrained by limited infrastructure, currently accounting for only about 3 to 5% of total Eurasian trade. Nevertheless, the potential for growth is substantial. Further enhancing its energy infrastructure, in March 2025, Turkey and Azerbaijan inaugurated a new gas pipeline connecting Azerbaijan's Nakhchivan exclave to Turkey's gas grid, significantly reducing Nakhchivan's previous reliance on Iranian energy supplies. Internally, however, the period since the 2023 military victory has seen the Azerbaijani government tighten its grip on power. There have been widespread reports of journalists, activists, and opposition figures being jailed. Access for foreign media has become more restricted, and the activities of several United Nations agencies and international humanitarian organizations have been curtailed. This consolidation of control has drawn criticism from international human rights groups. The government continues to portray Armenia as an ongoing threat, but with the recovery of all occupied territories, this narrative is gradually losing its potency among the population, potentially creating space for other domestic concerns to surface more prominently in public discourse. Economic vulnerabilities also present ongoing challenges for Baku. The country remains heavily dependent on volatile oil and gas revenues, which can fluctuate significantly with global market prices. For instance, oil output has plummeted from a peak of 823,000 barrels per day in 2010 to just 566,000 by early 2025. A moderate drop in oil prices, such as from around $80 a barrel in early 2025 to $64 as of late May 2025, could, if sustained, wipe out more than 20% of state revenue. Furthermore, the resettlement of Nagorno-Karabakh and the surrounding regions by Azerbaijanis displaced during the war in the 1990s is proving to be a slow and costly process. So far, only around 13,000 of over 600,000 have returned, primarily due to the extensive damage and the ongoing painstaking efforts required for demining the territories. The path towards a comprehensive peace agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia remains fraught with difficulties, despite the changed realities on the ground. Azerbaijan has, to some extent, stalled on finalizing a deal, putting forward two core demands that present significant hurdles. Firstly, Baku insists on changes to the Armenian constitution, specifically the removal of articles that it perceives as containing implicit territorial claims on Azerbaijan. Secondly, Azerbaijan demands the establishment of an uninterrupted land corridor connecting mainland Azerbaijan to its Nakhchivan exclave, which is separated by Armenian territory. These demands are politically sensitive in Armenia and require careful navigation by both sides. Beyond these publicly stated demands, there are indications that Azerbaijani officials may quietly insist on substantial upfront investment from the European Union and other Western institutions. This investment would be directed towards the reconstruction of the formerly Armenian-controlled territories, which suffered extensive damage during the decades of conflict and occupation. While the need for reconstruction is undeniable, linking it directly to the peace treaty adds another layer of complexity to the negotiations. The scale of such investment would be considerable, requiring significant international commitment and coordination, and potentially tying the peace process to broader geopolitical financial considerations, which can be unpredictable. On the Armenian side, Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan has expressed support for reaching a peace deal and has taken steps towards normalizing relations, including the recognition of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity. However, he faces considerable domestic opposition, particularly concerning any constitutional reforms or concessions related to the Nakhchivan corridor. With crucial Armenian parliamentary elections anticipated in 2026, Pashinyan's room for maneuver may be limited by internal political pressures. Opposition groups in Armenia are wary of any agreement perceived as compromising national interests, making it challenging for the government to build the necessary consensus for potentially unpopular decisions. This internal dynamic is a key factor influencing the pace and substance of the peace talks. The European Union is still widely seen as a credible peace broker in the region and could play a vital role in facilitating an agreement. The EU could propose practical arrangements for trade routes, including the Zangezur-Nakhchivan corridor, ensuring sovereignty and security for all parties involved. Furthermore, offering a substantial financial assistance package for post-conflict reconstruction and regional development could incentivize cooperation. Turkey's role also remains critical. Ankara has largely deferred to Baku on the terms of normalization with Armenia, stating it will only open its border with Armenia with Azerbaijani consent. A comprehensive peace deal would not only benefit Armenia and Azerbaijan, but also allow Turkey to help shape a new, more stable regional order, potentially unlocking significant economic and strategic opportunities for all actors involved, though simmering tensions between Azerbaijan and Iran over regional influence and security concerns add another layer of complexity to the long-term stability equation.